Greetings from the Dharma wheel Hermitage, everyone. Thank you for tuning in for yet another informative and entertaining episode of the Chainsaw Hermit. Today we are going to talk about power and how to use the alchemy of technology to turn the weather into electricity. And so right now we're going to talk about solar. And obviously this is a gorgeous day out here. It is crystal clear, or about as clear as you can hope to get in November here at the Dharma wheel Hermitage. But this is the morning after a storm. Everything is still very wet, and we just had a day-long storm. So all of our power during that storm, well, was reduced, went down, right? We used it, and we didn't produce any more. So we were very anxious, and it's early in the morning here, but we got these panels right out. Now I farm the sun, and what does that mean? Well, these panels could be fixed. They come with attachments and stuff like that. They could be fixed on a building or a roof. And maybe someday when I get old, really actually old, I'm only 61, but when I actually get really old, maybe I'll have to fix them somewhere. But for right now, it's much more efficient to bring the power packs out to the field, and I move them around all day long. Like in an hour or so, I'm going to move them up higher. Over there, there's a great spot over there where they go for the noontime and afternoon session, right? It gets a lot more sun over there. But for the morning, to catch that extra hour or two of the sunrise, this has been our spot lately. It changes because the angle of the sun is changing. It's lessening now. It's going towards the southern horizon, and then it will begin to rise. These panels are very good even right now because we have really good sun. Even with the angle very low, the sun should be, in most places in the world, the sun would be very weak this time of year. It's very strong even this time of year. So we're going to get plenty of power today with this crystal clear day, even though we only got about 8 hours total of usable sunshine. But by farming it and moving them around and adjusting the angle, you want a perpendicular angle. So you want the sun to be coming out of the sky as directly 90-degree angle on the panels as you can. So the panels move, the angle of the panels will move, and then also as the sun traverses the sky, I move them this way. But you're always aiming for that perpendicular, and that's the sweet spot. That's where you will get the maximum amount of wattage from the panels. So let's go take a look behind the scenes here, because right there, to just so you know, that's about, let me do the math real quick, about 320 watts at maximum capacity. So this panel over here, the red one, the Predator, is 200 watts, and this one here, the Flex Solar, they call it, is 120 watt panels. So altogether we have 320, but that's at max capacity. This time of year, they definitely aren't going near the max capacity of the panels. In the summertime, they will. Almost immediately upon sunrise, they'll go directly to the max. They're very efficient panels. They are what we call the 25%ers, which means they convert 25% of all the photons of light that hit those panels will be converted over to electricity. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's actually a lot. Trust me, that's a lot of photons. Those panels are pretty big. So let's take a look behind. We've got back here some action. We've got the bricks. These are power stations, professional power stations. Both of them are 600 watt capacity. They have slightly varying depths of storage. They're completely different models, and we'll talk about each one. Over here, this red system, the red panel and the red one, we'll talk about that first, because this is going to be our go-to as we build out the Hermitage. Because it's available at Harbor Freight, and because of that, we can go there, we can do returns there if something doesn't work, and they have the entire line going all the way up to 2,000 watt which is, that's about almost half of what you need to do an entire house. And then they have these 200 watt panels. That's the biggest they make of those, but you can series them together to generate, just huge wattages. This is more than enough for our survival camp though. So this is the Predator brand. Let me just talk about what I like about it. If you're interested in this, I would give this a 5-star rating as a product unboxing. 5 stars hands down. The panel, super efficient, definitely getting exactly what it's rated to get. It's also very, very durable and flexible. The panels themselves are not rigid. This is very helpful. They have a very nice soft bubble. The bubble lenses are actually directing the light better right onto the panels. But also it's tough, it's soft. So when the panels flop over, sometimes they hit the lava rocks or whatever, they'll hit something on the ground if they flop the wrong way in the wind. And it's got a very tough surface. It doesn't scratch easy at all. It folds up very easy, and it also comes with its own tripod legs, which is super handy. These panels are very heavy and big. It's very difficult sometimes to set these out here in the morning and get them just right. This panel is very easy to set out. And then it's got the handles on either end. You just fold it up and you can carry it right back inside. Definitely a 5-star product, 100%. I really like this panel. This is the Predator line of power stations. So what is a power station? Well, power station has to have a number of things. You want a lot of electronics in there. First of all, right now what we're seeing, that this number right here, 131, 129, that's the wattage coming into the power station from the panel. Okay, it's really good information. I can tell if my panels are rated right, if they're broken. You know what I mean? This is important info. So this is a great display. It tells me how far the battery's up. 12%. We've only been out here half an hour this morning, and 12% of this power station, the brick inside of it, is already full. So it's got all the proper sort of control circuits and electronics to really be able to harvest the electricity and understand the health of the power station itself. It's got your DC section. Each section turns on individually. That's always a really good feature. The other brick has it as well. So each section of the power station can be turned on individually. So I can turn the DC on and then flip this little cover out and put my cigarette lighter socket utility, whatever I'm trying to run in that. And then down below here, it's got a separate section that turns on for the USB and various other kind of sort of electronic plugins. But that's also DC, that's direct current, right? And then over here is your double barrel inverter. This will produce 600 watts, 120 volts of sine wave regulated electricity, just like in your house, right? So you click that button on and you can turn the inverter on, and you have 2 plugs there to be able to get your AC out. And again, for this unit, a 5-star rating. I have no problem giving it 5 stars. It's now, one thing I will say about it, it's got a different kind of lithium battery, a new one that they're trying out. It's called lithium iron. Okay, not ion, but lithium iron, like as in steel. Okay, and it's a new formula they're trying out. It's got its upsides and its downsides. The upside is it runs really, really well. It can run hot, which means you can put the solar panel on and run stuff out of the unit, and it runs very well that way. It's definitely got a very fast charging speed, about twice the charging, half the charging speed of a lithium ion. So it charges about twice as fast, which is huge for a brick that size. That's a lot of hours cut off. I mean, you're talking about going from 8 hours to 4 hours of charging of sunlight in order to get it to 100% full capacity. So that's kind of huge. The downside, and I've already run into it, is it has a memory issue. And it's a fairly poignant one in the sense that it appeared right away. Because I did not fully charge the unit when I got it, I had to use it right away. But it also burned out relatively easily, and I'll tell you how you burn memory out of all different kind of batteries, nickel metal hydride or iron. It's really simple. You just keep bringing it to 0 and back up to 100% as many times as you can in a row. You just do that a couple of times usually is all it takes, and that will burn what we call burn the memory out of the battery again. But it will slowly degrade if you do that. And so it is a thing. It's a thing. It's a downside to the new sort of battery formula, this lithium iron formula. So there's the Predator system. That's going to be our go-to system for the Hermitage as we grow the Hermitage out. Like the prayer hall will probably have a power station in it, and any other structure that we build for retreats, other retreat cabins or whatever, will have one of these in them as well to power that little building. So this will be how we build out the solar capacity going forward. This is the unit that I brought with me. This is called Flex Solar and Evo, the Evo power station. It's a completely different system. It's not at all as rugged as the Predator system. It's very rigid panels, and they scratch very easily. As they've fallen over, you can see where I've gotten little hairline scratches already on the lava rocks, which are real, that's a thing around here, is these lava rocks, right? And so it's a very rigid panel. It's very lightweight compared to the Predator. It's equally as efficient. It's the 25% panel. Very happy with the wattage that we get out of it. And it's fold up. It just, as you can see though, I've got the sticks, right? So the tripod legs that come with the panel were really handy, because that's not the ideal sort of way to set up the panels, but it works, right? Gets it out here and set up. So yeah, I'd give that a 5-star. It's just not going to last quite as long out here. It's going to get banged around, and it's probably not going to have the lifespan of a Predator, but it's fine and it's doing well. So yeah, it's called Flex Solar. It's available on Amazon. And this is like your Evo power station. This one is very different, even though it's rated the same exact brick and the same exact wattage. But it's a completely different unit. The Predator is designed for outdoor use. It is completely weatherproof, 100%. It's so solid, it's unbelievable. It's actually, most of the weight of this power station is, that's a steel handle, okay? It's been out in the rain already, not even a problem with it. And it's super heavy and rugged. Very, very, very nice, solid unit. Made for outdoors, just really designed for outdoor use. This one, not so much. This one, you really got to watch. You got to baby it. You got to keep it out of the rain. It's not in any way that I can see weatherproof, but it is the exact same setup. As far as the power station itself, it's just things are in a little bit of a different place. But you have your DC socket. You have your DC control panel. Your DC. Your electronics things, so your USB ports and all that, your various electronic ports, and then you have the readout. See, we can see the wattage. We're getting 42 watts off the panel right now, and it's not bad. It's only 9 in the morning, so it'll pick up. It'll get up to about 80 by noon, and then you have your inverter to create your 120 volt sine wave regulated DC AC alternating current electricity. So it's the same unit. This one's got an extra bonus. It's got your touchpad chargers. What is that? Well, that means for if you have a cordless charging for your phone. Most modern phones are cordless charging enabled. If it is enabled for cordless charging, it means you can just drop your phone. It even gives you a neat diagram with there's your little camera lens. There's your home bar on the bottom, so you know the orientation, right, to drop the phone on. And then you just drop it on and push the direct current button, and it will begin to charge the phone on the touchpad without any cords at all. Very handy, especially if somebody is camping or whatever. You've lost your cord, but you can still get power into your phone using this brick. So that's a bonus that the Predator doesn't have. And also another bonus this one has is a big spotlight on the side. The Predator doesn't have a light. So I can use this as a pretty bright outdoor spotlight in an emergency, in a pinch. I can bring the brick outside for that. So that is the Evo charging brick. They're exactly the same in the sense of the power they produce. This one has lithium ion, so no memory, very, very good depth. It is a deep brick. It powers a long time. However, very sensitive to cold. I've noticed that, and even more so the Predator. The lithium ion even more sensitive to cold, but a bit sensitive to cold. But other than that, just a fantastic power station. A 5-star rating for both the Flex Solar and the Evo power station. These are the ones we brought with us in the kit, the homesteading kit. When we got here, it turned out not to be enough, especially when we added the Starlink internet unit. So we basically doubled up, and we chose Harbor Freight and the Predator system because it's available locally. It would be very hard to return items to Amazon up here in the mountains. So we wanted something that we could bring if it doesn't work, and bring it down and to return it and deal with it that way. So we're paying a bit more by buying it locally. Amazon ones are probably about 25 to 30% cheaper per wattage, but there's a quality difference definitely, and also I would say just the ability to, like I said, to bring it back in and deal with exchanges and stuff like that. These are heavy units and not easy to ship around. So that is our solar setup, and it has been doing really, really nice. Like I said, now I want to say a caveat about solar. You see this and you're watching from wherever you are out there in the country. This works here really well because we have sun that's virtually magical. It shines like this all year long. We'll still have rains, but then the next day it's going to be like this. It's calm, and the sun is very, very strong. And even in the dead of winter, it will be very, very strong. With any moisture in the atmosphere, with any kind of even high-level haze that you can't even see in the sky, like in places like New England and places like this, it's just not going to work the same. You're not going to get, we get huge amounts of electricity. I will power both these packs, and the Predator, I will power it twice today. I will power it up, go in and use it for a while, and then bring it back out into the sun and fill it up before nightfall. Even on a day, where we're virtually in winter, right? As far as the angle of the sun and the power of the sun. But we are in I just call it big sky country. And these crystal clear sort of days are just a regular feature of life here, even in the winter. In the summer, it's unbelievable. You'll have 12 hours of this and all the electricity you could imagine from the sun. So this is an ideal climate and an ideal environment to use solar. You need way less panels than you would in other places in the country, way less storage and everything, and it's just really super easy. This whole farming thing works well here, of moving them around and everything. That would not be necessarily good for all. It's not good for all places, for all types of climates. So, but what we will talk about next is what is good for alternatives to solar. So let's talk about that. Okay, so here we are up at the base camp, and like I said, we're post-storm, so we can still see some of the firewood and stuff is tarped, but we survived it no problem. And so we're going to take a look at what is the alternative. What do I do, Dharma Bum, if there just ain't a lot of sun, or if we ain't got it lucky like you? Okay, so one of the alternatives is a wind turbine. And that one there is about 500 watts. It's rated at 500 watts. That's more than all of my panels put together. That wind turbine can produce, but only in the midst of a storm. So it's basically the emergency power. As you can see, most of the time up here, we're dead calm. Again, the whole big sky country thing going on, and the big sun, it's all about that. We get very little wind, but when we get it, we really get it. And it blows for like a day. And for that day, I'm using electricity and I can't generate any off the sun. So this is basically our alternative for a storm. I bought this at Home Depot. It's a 5-blade, 500 watt unit. It's by Evo as well. Okay. And we'll take a closer look at it. I won't lie, getting it to stand alone by myself was a challenge, but it assembled very easily. It had very few connections to wire up. It comes with a control unit, and that's what that is right there. And the control unit does a number of things. One, it has a little LED light to let you know you're generating a charge. And it has the outbound, the black and white outbound wires, which are going to, that's going to be the electricity, the usable electricity will transmit down out of the unit through these red wires. And the 3 blue ones up here that go up to the turbine, this control unit will do a number of things. For instance, in an emergency, like say a hurricane or something like that, and I wasn't able to bring the unit in, I wasn't able to get it out of the storm, it has a braking system so that the unit will begin to slow down and brake the wheel so that it doesn't burn out from being spinning too fast. So it can slow it down. It has an internal braking system that measures the speed of the turbine, the heat of the turbine, and it will begin to brake the turbine if and attempt to save it if it gets caught out in some really bad hardcore wind. I've got it on a $10 PVC, a 10-foot tall, well, about $10 too, 10-foot tall PVC pipe, and then I had to brace it down bottom here with a steel pole that's driven into the ground, and pretty much a small mountain of lava rocks around the base to keep it nice and steady. And that's it. And then because it's designed for storm usage, we wanted it very close to the house, to the cabin, right? And so that's our back port. That's actually a back door to our cabin that we never use, but it's our e-port, where we bring in the wire. This gray one here is for the satellite dish, which is out there. And then that is the red and white from the turbine, and it has the proper connections inside the tent to charge the bricks inside the tent during bad inclement weather. It wasn't terribly expensive, about 115 bucks, guys. So way cheaper than solar. And you could get multiple of these. They also have 1,000-watt units that are cool. They have different designs. For instance, they have ones that are a ball, like a red ball, no propeller at all, and the ball spins. I would like to try that design at some point as well. And I don't see any reason, without having many of these around, we're going to eventually need a power station devoted just to the water when we obtain the well. And so this could be part of that solution as well. So it's good to know, it's good to train up on it. I put this unit up for the winter, and I think even though we haven't had a windy storm yet, it hasn't been put directly to the test. I believe it's going to work quite nice. It's got like I said, it's pretty simple and got very few moving parts, so I think it'll be just fine. And I think it looked kind of cute back there. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm sort of proud. I mean, we've really got the whole renewable energy thing going on, and to me that is another way of respecting nature, respecting the land, respecting the environment, is to use this kind of technology as much as possible. There is no reason you couldn't power a small home using a combination of solar and wind. And like I said, where one doesn't work as well, say you're not in a really big sun place like this, you have these alternatives like this to to augment the entire system. And then if you're going to do a fixed location like most people do, see, this is a temporary camp, so this is all stuff that's subject to a move at any time. So but if you're going to do a fixed location kind of thing, where you put the panels on the roof and that kind of thing, then they would all connect up to the power stations, would never move. They would stay in place inside these structures, and would be permanently wired up, and they would just go. They would just run, because they would charge when they could, and they would discharge when you needed them. And that's how it works. But right now I've got it sort of piecemeal, and like I said, I farm the solar. So we're going to move the solar now. As soon as I'm done with this video, I'm going to move the solar out into that spot over by the internet antenna, because that has sun all day long until sunset. So I won't have to move them again after I move them there. So that's I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go take care of that, and then I'll sit down with you and we'll talk. We'll do a wrap up about electricity and the importance of it. Yeah. Okay, so the last component of the electrical system of the Dharma wheel Hermitage that I wanted to talk about, but it's an important one. Here we have the smallest power station in the camp. It came with us. It was actually the power station for years for the Terrapin Flyer, the little homeless wagon that I pulled around. It has its own little professional 30-watt fold-out solar panel to charge on when it charges, and it has all the components of a power station. You have somewhat of monitoring, not really wattage, but you can monitor the health of the brick. It has the AC inverter, which we're actually using right now. So it's on, and creating, it creates up to 100 watts. But usable, it's only about 50, to be honest. And then has the electronics panel to plug in all your various electronics. That's what this one now gets used for a lot, because clearly it's not going to run anything major. It's very tiny, but it's very useful for this chore, and it's doing it right now today because we are just in dire need. We went through the storm, we burned down our batteries. Pretty much everything here in the cabin runs off the batteries, little speakers, the earphones, all of the lighting. I have this wonderful accent lighting here that goes all the way around the roof of the cabin. It's very, very nice at night. It runs off 3 AA batteries, right? So, and very, very useful. So all your little lights and stuff like that. And the way to deal with that, obviously not to buy alkaline batteries in the store. That would be horrible, right? But instead you use rechargeable batteries. The go-to really has never been replaced. They're trying to sort of do lithium ion versions of these, the AAs and the AAAs, and we just really use those, just the AAs and the AAAs. So far we've managed to keep all of our appliances to those two types. This charger though also does 9-volt batteries and D batteries as well, so it's very versatile. It has the plugs up in there for the 9-volt square batteries, so it's very versatile. And it does lithium ion and nickel metal hydride and cadmium, if you still have any of the old cadmium rechargeables. Those were just horrible with lots of memory. The nickel metal hydride, which is what we use, is just a go-to. Lithium ion is going to take a lot of work, guys, before they perfect it to be able to use in this use case. They're just not ready yet. I've tried them and I don't like them. But this charger would charge them if I had them. But instead I go with nickel metal hydride. It's an old standby. It's a technology that's been around for, I don't know, 20 some odd years I've been using. I actually have nickel metal hydride batteries, AAs, that were 20 years old that still held a real decent charge. They last literally forever, have no memory. The drawback is they work terrible in the cold, and they don't have huge depth for short-term stuff, like anything that's sort of an active use case, like a radio or anything like that. They're going to go down. Lights are okay. They tend to last a little while with lights and last a lot more with, in other words, they don't like to put the current out all at once. So if you're going to like flash cameras and stuff like that, you won't get good use case out of that. That's where you actually literally have to turn to either the lithium ion, if you're insisting on renewable, or alkaline, to get that sort of kick, that burst kick of electricity. They're not good at that. They're good at storage and just gentle use, putting it out slow, like lighting or something like that. So, and here we are, we're charging up because, like I said, we're all out. We have a set in here of 3. That's for a light that hangs on, from the roof. Actually, it's for that light right there, and that little red one. And it's all LED, right? But it's very bright, and it hangs nice and makes a really nice ceiling light. And so when they're done, I'll have my ceiling light for the evening. During the winter, I won't. I will say that it's a chore, because basically almost every day I have to charge them back up, because between the cold and the fact that the nights are very long, so the lights are on all night, pretty much every day I have to recharge a good bunch of these. And so it's like a chore. I just set the desk up and just get to doing it. I start first thing in the morning, and by evening I have all my lights and stuff back for the evening. And so that's rechargeable batteries, guys, and that's kind of the final component, really, of the electrical power here, because it's a survival camp. So our needs are not what it would be for household electricity. This whole system, as I've described it, generates more than enough for a small amount of refrigeration, the internet, all of my electronics, the lighting, everything comes off the system that I've described. All right, so this episode of the Chainsaw Hermit is probably going to run a little bit long, but it was power packed, if you'll pardon my pun, and a lot of good information. The total cost of everything that you've seen today on this episode is about $1,500. And like I said, you can power a small permanent encampment like this quite nicely. We have at least one item that's a continuous draw, and we'll talk about that in a separate episode. But we have a tiny micro refrigerator unit, and that draws pretty much electricity 24/7. So, and so the needs are moderate. I mean, and also I'm a power user, you know, I'm a content creator. I'm on the internet a lot. The Starlink takes power, everything takes power. So not only are we able to generate it, as you've seen in this episode, but I'm a user of it. I want to say a word about electricity in general. Electricity, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand history of humanity, will probably be closer in discovery, time-wise, to fire than to the modern technology that we use the electricity for. This is a very primitive force, guys. This is a force that's everywhere in nature. And we learned to harvest it actually fairly early. I mean, you're talking a couple of 100 years ago, 2.5 centuries ago, Benjamin Franklin out there, catching lightning and putting it in bottles, which eventually became batteries, right? So, and it's gotten a lot of incredible and really good uses. The problem with electricity is that it tends to be generated by means that are very detrimental to our planet and our environment. This is not only the alternative, but it's the way forward. I think that independent generation, on-site generation of electricity is eventually going to become the norm. Grid electricity cannot survive the demise of the petrocarbon economies. So this is the way forward. This is the future, and this is the Dharma Wheel Hermitage's attempt to, remain carbon free, to keep our pledge, and to and yet to have the things and the conveniences, and really, to spread the word of the Dharma. You really, in this day and age, you need electricity. So just a final word about it as we take a last look at the gorgeous day out here and everything, and then I'm going to sit down and close up. All right, so thank you guys once again for joining me on another incredible, informative episode of the Chainsaw Hermit. Loved talking to you guys about how we put this homestead kit together and how well it's working. And the next one, we'll talk about how some of the ways that you use the electricity, but one of the important ways is a small amount of refrigeration. It may seem like a luxury, but it's also a very much a lifestyle changer if you can refrigerate just a small few amount of items, things like fresh milk and cheese and butter, and just small items like that, that you can keep cold on a continuous basis. And that can be done on a very micro level, a very efficient level, and we'll talk about that in the next episode. Smash the like and subscribe button. We have a winter appeal going on. The camp is finished, guys. The picnic table is still in pieces. Where can I get it in the shot? There it is. So it's here, but the storm came and I had to pause in mid-construction. And then we have the paint already. We're going to paint that maroon. That's really the final component of the permanent camp up here. So we're really done. We're going to settle into, testing it. We've got the storms rolling in, like one was yesterday. Like I said, that's why we have all this great weather. Almost inevitably comes on the heels of the storms up here this time of year. So, and we spend the days, we spend the days out here getting ready. I'll finish the table and I'll give a tour of the final base camp configuration, and show you guys everything that we've done. And then, like I said, we'll settle in at this point for the winter storms, and do content and whatnot. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Chainsaw Hermit. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it informative, and we'll see you at the next episode.